have with us today two distinguished people. And our first one is Ina, and Ina is now the chair of this group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And she promises to bring breakfast each time we have one of these
Every
meetings.
time.
All right, good. Glad to know that. So I'm going to turn it over to you as the chair to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your vision for this group, Ina.
Mhm.
If everybody could mute themselves other than the Ina, that would be great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So I'm thrilled to take the mantle of this. Ken is an extraordinary connector of people and a coordinator par excellence. And when he asked me to take it over, I said I would be happy to step into this role and do the best I can, because I've never done this before, but with the help and support of Ken and the steering committee, I feel like I can take it on. And if there's a day I feel like I'm overwhelmed, I will let you know, and you can all join in. I had the pleasure of speaking to the PHI people the other day at their executive committee meeting, and it's pretty extraordinary to sit with people who have been doing this, since the 80s, and really have a handle on what we're all about. And I feel like the potential for collaboration is extraordinary with them, because they really have an infrastructure that is quite good that we can add to, and that they can enhance us as well. So I found it to be a very rewarding conversation. I had a lovely time talking to one of the doctors, Fred Maynard. He brought up something that I found interesting, and I haven't been able to track it down yet. He said there is a real serious conversation going on with some doctors who do not believe there is such a thing as post-polio syndrome. And I said, do any of these doctors, are they survivors of polio? And he said, yes, but they still think that it just does not
11.
exist.
Okay, and I'll have to call you later to
Okay, who's on not
get
mute?
some more setup. But can I go ahead and have one? What is he doing? Monday, Thursday?
Okay, we're having a little private conversation here.
I
Who's
can't
that? Do you
do
know?
this now. I can't do.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have a great opportunity there to enhance what we do and to add to what they do. And so I just want you to know I made the overture, and we had a really lovely conversation. I am a survivor, had polio when I was 18 months old. I have been struggling with post-polio since the 80s, and told the PHI people that I found them in 1982 or 84 and went to a conference that they were having in St. Louis. I knew I needed to get some information, and I don't know how I found them without Google. And I drove down there and walked into a hotel room filled with people who had the same issues that I did. And so I knew that I was in the right place. And I feel very connected to them as a result of having known about them for all those years. So I just wanted to say good morning and to let you know how happy I am that I'm part of this group, and I feel the potential is enormous. The fact that we have all these global people with us today tells us everything. So Ken, take it and let's tell me who's here to speak with us today.
Okay, great. And appreciate obviously very much Ina's vision of where this group is going to go, and now that we have a chairperson, it's time now to sit down with her, with a group of people, and start planning what kind of committees we want to have, what kind of direction we want to take, and what kind of action we want to do, because we want to be a group of action, as opposed to group, want to make sure that we do things, that things are being done and things are moving forward. So under Ina's direction, we'll be working on that very shortly. But I need to find Vinny again because I've lost him. Vinny, if you can unmute.
I'm here.
Okay, well, I'm gonna now pin you back. so that you'll be in the spotlight. Okay. And so Vinny, I'm going to let him tell you about yourself, but Vinny and I had that's very healthy conversation, and his thoughts and approach to post-polio syndrome and polio. I think you'll find it very interesting. He fits right into the idea of advocacy. So Vinny, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Yeah. Much. I'm really excited to be here. Also because what you just said about taking action. And while I drove down from Berlin to Nuremberg, today I'm here with my father-in-law to see him because he's not very well. And driving down here, I recalled our conversation yesterday about what I should talk about, my story, the message, probably what we could do. And it occurred to me what's most important, because my story is on my blog also as a speech I gave to a Rotarian club here in Berlin 5 years ago. And to make the story very short, I was born in India. I contracted polio at the age of 6 months. From India, we went to UK. From UK, we went to North Germany and then to West Berlin. And that's where I grew up. My dad had an offer to work as a vet in Canada, but my mom said, no, we're going to stay stuck now in Berlin, West Berlin, because children are growing up. They need their structure, they need their school and the kindergarten. So you can call me Indo-German with a cosmopolitan background, basically, whatever that means. So I grew up in Germany, in a country where polio, there's a good health system on one side. On the other side, there are a lot of challenges. So I don't want to, really come up with all the issues you have with post-polio syndrome, because most of you probably know that. So my message is different. I want to be more like to tell you, to talk about what we probably need to do. And it occurred to me while driving down here, was what's the difference? What makes polio or post-polio syndrome so distinguishing from other disabilities? What's the difference, right? And I thought, here, we are living in a time where the whole world is covered with COVID-19. And this is it. The difference is it's a virus and it's invisible. And here comes my thought about this invisibility. We have to, this invisibility of the virus, shows up. Probably you're contracted by polio with some it has never shown up, was like a cold, and with some it was very severe, getting into the iron lung in the 50s. Later, different. I was lucky to have survived that. I was paralyzed from neck downwards. And my parents put a lot of efforts in my physiotherapy and all that. So to some extent, I'm very grateful for the path I went through. And this invisibility I want to share with you is that we have to start making people aware of the visibility. It's unpredictable. Post-polio syndrome hits you between the 30s and the 50s. I met an association here in Berlin of polio survivors. Germany has around 30,000 polio survivors. And we have only 3 experts, get that. And if we want to go to a consultation to an expert, it's not paid by the insurances. And it's around €300 and you have to pay it yourself. I mean, how crazy is that? I mean, some can afford it and some probably not. I don't know. But it sounds crazy because we've been a part of society with everything around it. And basically, we've been told belief phrases in our life, like you can't do this, you won't make it, you have to work double as hard as anyone else, blah, 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 blah. And all these belief systems, for me, I'm speaking for myself, have accompanied throughout my life. And I try to find a way to manage all this. And I know I'm not the only one out there. As I can see, we're all sitting here on one screen now, which I'm very happy about. And to understand now what's the next step to become visible, to make people aware of what we're facing. And what we're facing is still reality. Like what just John posted about 900,000 vaccinations on polio through London, outbreak in New York. I mean, it's incredible. And like 30,000 polio survivors in Germany and only 3 experts. How can that be? India, 4 million people going through polio, having had polio, and the people don't know anything about it because society doesn't have any awareness about how to cope with this. Even ourselves, sometimes we are so lost. I am basically sometimes so lost, and I had to go all through this way, and probably some of you similar, to find a way of self-management, mentally, physically, and get your root out there and stand your ground. And the crazy thing is, why do we have to always fight to be understood? And I thought, this can't be. That's why I created this blog, Post-Polio Reality. And it's some kind of synchronicity that when I posted it, Ken and John came up and clicked and said, hey, this is somehow it resonates. And I said, yes, wow. And I think that's where we have to create this awareness, how to treat polio, how to treat PPS. We have to teach people, we have to train people, we have to educate people on this. It's not just about eradication of polio, because that's not enough, right? What about the people who survived, who are still struggling and who are going, against all the odds, right? So we have to support each other on that, line. And we have to make this visible by raising the voice and saying, hey, eradication is great, but we have to go a step further. What about the 4 million people in India? What about the 900,000 people who are getting vaccinated and those who are not getting the shots, right? And going into, risking their lives and others' lives. So this is where we have to really take action, and we have to do fast, because time is basically running out. I feel like it's 5 to 12, right? So what can we do? We have to start building education centers. We have to start up building up topics. We have to see what doctors can we, give a system that they can learn from and understand, and get some people, build experts for physical treatment, for mental treatment, get some support. And I know from my personality, and I know from other personalities, I've followed a lot of the comments and observed the groups for some times, and I see people, they have over-delivered in their life, always being over-delivered, just out of the fear that not being recognized, or just to see, hey, I'm here too, and I can make it too, because it's been in the head all the time, you can't make it, but which is not true. And this is where it comes. It's invisible, it strikes you and it contracts you, and then it stays invisible, or it becomes visible, but then it becomes invisible again, because I act as somebody, as a part of society who doesn't want to come into the way, because we want to live a healthy life like everyone else. We want to enjoy life like everyone else. And who says we can't, right? Who says we can't? And it's a birthright of everybody's person in the world, despite physical or mental liability, to have a happy life, have a joyful life. And that's what we need to focus on. I'm not saying just wear your pink glasses and everything looks bright. Yeah, no, but let's take up the challenges and let's create the happiness within, and let's teach the people, how to handle this topic, not just by talking to them, but by teaching them. And whenever we teach someone, we learn for ourselves. That's what I deeply believe in. So that's basically my message, where we really have to go to. And I've created this blog basically, and for placing out stories. So this is my one of my purposes and missions, is gather stories from all around the world and just post them as they are. And if you have a story to tell, please reach out to me and I'll put it on my blog. That's one thing. The other thing is I'm working on is an educational center. Now, and from what I'm hearing here is you have the same ideas, you have the same thoughts. Great, let's team up. Because as a team, we will move much faster forward with this topic. We will achieve much, much more. And we have to start basically yesterday. And yeah, that's what I just wanted to say. And I'll give the words back to you, Ken.
Okay, well, thank you, Vinny. I don't know if anybody has any questions for Vinny, but I know one of the things you and I were talking about is the fact that actually, as we look for advocates for this subject, and we look for advocates, and we'll talk a little bit in the future, a little later on in the meeting, about what advocacy is and can be. But as we look for advocates, oftentimes the people who, in this case, have polio or have post-polio syndrome, oftentimes make the best advocates. Do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree, because they know what they're talking about. Simple as that. Yeah, they know what they're talking about. And it's very authentic, right? It's very authentic. What we have to transport the message, right? If I say my legs are weak today, if I try to transport that message, somebody will say, yeah, I've been running today. My legs are weak also today. I say, yeah, okay, fine. But you can't compare that. It's different, because you maybe have overworked your muscles, but I can't overwork my muscles. If I do that, I'll weaken myself on the long run. So we have to really try to find out how to transport. And that's the best way. If we have people who have gone through this, who are struggling with this, and who also, of course, have their own support group, or have someone, a kind of peer group supporting each other, how to handle this topic inside as outside. So yes, I agree.
And Vinny, we've got a request for you to put your blog on the a link on your blog on the chat. If you could do that at some point before we.
Yeah, I do that. I do that immediately. Sure.
Okay. Can people hear me? Is my mic all right? Because I actually can put on a better mic if I'm fuzzy. So Vinny, the thing is, there's a struggle here we're all going to go through, and we're going through at this moment, and that is that post-polio syndrome in particular needs to get the word out on how we can about the post-polio syndrome. And one of the things we've certainly talked about, I think through this group, is by working on a grassroots level. I mean, what's your thoughts about what much power the individual has to get to work on changing the thinking about post-polio syndrome?
Well, I think this best way how to change is basically, you see, one thing is that those people like me, like you, who have had post-polio or polio, struggling with post-polio syndrome or late effects on polio. Putting the story out there is one thing. Educating the people is the other thing. And then we have the relatives around us, our own personal relatives, right? And sometimes they're lost with us. And I totally follow that, and maybe not easy why I suddenly jump up and say, oh, I can't concentrate anymore, or this is getting too stressful, please lower the voices out of the blue. We have to get our partners, our relatives, we have to get them on board, we have to get them on board about this idea, because they are, basically around us 24 hours. And once they are on board in some way, in any way, right, that's one thing. And then what we have to set up is basically, it sounds crazy, but we have to market the topic. We have to get out there on social media. We have to create the awareness, not just by posting once something, but we have to set up some topic, and then we have to target it out into the world about, what is polio? Do you know what polio is? We had in the 50s, epidemics in different parts of the world. And people know, yeah, we know what polio is. But no, just saying, yeah, we know what polio is doesn't mean you know what polio is, because it can hit you too at any time. And now we see what's happening. And because of the climate change and a lot of different reasons, things are popping out in a different way. So it's like water always finds its way, and a virus obviously too. So that's where we have to start educating people, and we have to start creating that awareness on the education in general about the knowledge. And that's where I believe, where we have to start. Sit down and think of just a visibility campaign of creating awareness that how important it is to take your children to get vaccinated on polio. And if you're not vaccinated yet, go and get it, right? But it needs education, why it's important and what this virus does to you.
And also, I think about how changes come across in the world, and it always started with one person. And you can name many people their advocates, and one example that always comes to my mind is Gandhi. I mean, look what he did. He one person created a change in the world, and it just kind of reinforces, I don't know if we want to talk about that, of the power of one person.
Your audio is just gone with me.
Oh, okay. So the power of one person.
Yes, I got you. Yeah. I got you. It's again here. It's synchronicity. When you were just talking about it before you said Gandhi, I was thinking of Gandhi myself. And yes, you see, my vision is, or my mission is basically, within the next 18 to 24 months, I want to do this full time. I want to create this, serving for education, that people understand what's it all about, because it's just a tiny drop on the hot stone, basically, right? And we need more than one tiny drop. We need a lot of tiny drops. We need a full rain on the hot stone to cool it off and tell the world out there. And then this is an example maybe for all other things which are not related to polio, which are maybe different diseases. And because a virus is a virus, right? And they all have their different mentalities and aims and goals. And this virus is I mean, then it's just not one polio type of virus out there. We know that, and we have to educate that too. That there are different types and with different effects, and that's why it's also important to get that vaccination and to get the mindset. But what to do when you're contracted with polio, or when your child's contracted with polio? What to do? Where's the next doctor? With me, I was told, oh, he has just a 3-day fever. I was vaccinated against pox, and I got a fever. Immune system goes down, and within those days, when I got vaccinated against pox, and my fever went up, my immune system went down, I contracted polio. And they didn't have, at the countryside in India in those days, they didn't have the polio vaccination for what reasons ever. I don't know, but they didn't have it. My brother didn't get it. I got it. My parents didn't get it. I got it. So, and that's where we have to start. And yes.
Okay. And does anybody have a question for Viney? It's a fascinating subject, Viney, too, on anything that people are going through that's health related, and the mind goes through a struggle of I'm going to beat it, I'm going to, and then maybe to a point of accepting it, and what happens when that happens?
Yes, it's a very good point, because this is also, besides educating the world out there, we have to educate ourselves exactly in that point of self-management, right? And in the whole process of suddenly realizing, I've read some stories in groups like I'm not sure if I'm having post-polio or not. My doctor told me that I probably had, and it looks like I'm now suffering from post-polio, but he is not sure, right? And this brings a big bunch of insecurities in your life, right? And you start thinking about the future. Gosh, how is going my future be? Can I still work? Will I have enough for my pension? And this continues, like, you know, a snowball getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So here's where we have to, you know, understand that we have to also educate ourselves, teach ourselves about self-management, and to which library to turn to which expert to turn to. Where is a validation or validated knowledge base data bank where we can search, or who can we ask, right? And this is too much unstructured. The whole thing is, of course, I sit down, I Google polio, I Google it in English. I get a lot more about it than in German. Yeah, obviously Germany is feeling very safe about it, and only having 30K survivors. I said, what's that? Can't be. 3 experts, 30,000 people. And there's a disbalance, and in this direction, when we stumble into that phase of facing it, I was told, I was mid-30s, I was told by the association here in Berlin, you're going to sit in the wheelchair before you're 40. I said, excuse me, how do you know? How do you know? And how can you tell that? How can you predict that? And he started basically projecting his own frustration onto me. And I said, hold on. You don't know my lifestyle. You don't know what I'm taking care of and how I'm taking care of myself. We can exchange that if you like, but I'm not going onto this negative route. We have to really take this challenge. And here comes what you just said, Ken. The first step is accept your condition, right? Sometimes it's tough, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you sit down there and you start getting depressed because all the things you used to do, or even recently, suddenly, you know, stop working for you, or you can't do them as you used to do. And you suddenly realize something's changing. And then you sit there and your mood gets very dull and dark about it. Anybody experienced that before? I guess so, you know? And we have to understand how to go through this. And the first step is, yes, Ken, you're right, accept it. Once you accepted that, then there's the next step. The step is self-care. How can I take self-care? Because I'm the first and most important person responsible of my life. That's me. That's not my wife. It's not my daughter. It's not my doctor. It's me. It's me. No one else. It's me I'm counting on, right? We should never forget that it's me. And that's why our groups, this group building here is so important, right? To encourage each other, to understand, okay, first phase, accept, then find a way, what is there which can make you happy now? What is there in the process of after accepting it, yeah? And give yourself time. Don't criticize, don't be harsh to yourself so much, yeah? So come down, put that inner voice into a sweeter voice, right? Not so many hard critics to yourself. Oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't serve them anymore. And it's because these belief systems in you know, still working in you from the past, from your environment, and from yourself, what you have learned. To talk to yourself like that, you've got to deliver, means for you, you're over-delivering more than you actually can do. So come down and really be a little bit more self-loving and not criticizing yourself so hard. So acceptance, self-care, find out what's good for you mentally as well as physically, and do these things step by step. Yeah. So and find the happiness back into your life. Get that happiness back into your life, because happiness makes things so much easier. Even if you have pain, I sit there sometimes in the middle of the night. I get pain in my muscle. I said, why now? I want my sleep. Why are you bugging me now? Okay, I understand. And then what I do is I pick up a book and start reading it. Just a few lines, and then I go back to bed. Or I do breathing exercises. Yeah, because breathing is very important, especially as when you had polio. You know that our lungs are very, very precious organs for us. So that's, breathing exercises, very simple breathing exercises will give you so much relief. Yeah, and will bring you a different kind of awareness. Meditation is also one very, very important solution. Don't make it complicated. Meditation is no mystique thing. It's just sit down and be still and observe. That's the first step, nothing else. Back to you, Ken.
Okay, thank you. And Jacqueline, do you have a question? Jacqueline Wilson, Dr. Wilson? Okay, maybe not.
I think she just dropped off.
Oh, she did. Oh, okay, good. And the other thing I'm thinking, Vinny, and everybody pretty much gets polio at a young age, so it's pretty much something that is understood. Okay, I've got polio, but what happens when we're talking about post-polio syndrome? It happens later in life. You've gone through a period where things seem to be all right, and then all of a sudden post-polio starts hitting you. So I would imagine at that stage that a lot of people are going through depression because of the fact that this is happening. And if you want to touch upon that a little bit.
Yeah. You have to differentiate between depression in a clinical sense and depression which comes from the condition itself from the outside, right? So this is not a depression in the sense of that our inner chemistry is out of balance, but it can get out of balance because it's due to how we perceive the environment and how we frame what's happening to us, and that's very important. If what we see, right, we get that frustration that we are not suddenly able to do what we used to do, and we're trying to understand, or some of us might be asking in the beginning, why me? So I think that's not the question. It's the answer is, hey, you had polio, and now the post-polio is showing its visibility. And now instead of staying in the frame of, I can't do this anymore, I've become useless, instead of all these negative things, start setting up a new frame. We call it in neurosciences, we call it reframe. Reframe your thoughts. Instead of focusing what you can't do, that's what I was just talking about earlier, focus on what you can do. And even if it may be just a little, but many little steps make one big step. So focus on what you can do, right? And focus on what still gives you, it doesn't matter how big or small, happiness. Yeah, maybe you have grandkids, maybe you like painting, maybe you like listening to music. Find something which makes your face smile in the morning, or maybe you want to teach other people, or maybe you want to, get your family into the topic and tell them, look, listen, I've got to share this with you, because it's important to share this with the family too. They should understand what's happening with you, so they can, basically grab you before you fall. Emotionally, you have to take care not to be alone emotionally. If you're on this route emotionally alone and you keep staying on the track alone, then exactly that will happen. What Ken just said, you will fall into depression. The other thing is, the good news is you can get out of it. That's what I was just saying. You can get out of it if you start reframing your thoughts, and this will help you reframe your life by reframing also your language. Not, I can't do this. Oh, I can still do this. And this, and this, and this.
And Vinny, and we'll get to John in a second, but Maureen made a good comment here. She said the problem is that doctors are not knowledgeable in PPS to validate what you're feeling, and they check it up to depression, etc. And it gives
exactly.
antidepressant. Think about
Exactly.
Antidepressant.
Here's my answer to that. We need to, again, I'm referring what we talked about earlier. We need to start educating the people. It's not the antidepressants which will help us. It's the understanding of our environment which will help us. It's the call for help. You can pick up depressions and get rid of these kind of depressions by changing your nutrition. We know how important nutrition is. We know how much antioxidants do. We know there's so much out there in the science on nutrition. And you know, Hippocrates said, your nutrition is your medicine and your medicine is your nutrition. So we have basically thousands of years of knowledge from different cultures, how we should eat in order not to get depressive. So what we don't need are antidepressants. I totally agree on that, because that's a wrong understanding of the doctor. He just wants to take the easy side. Of course, he wants to be helpful. Yeah, I no doubts about that. He doesn't know the other way how to be helpful because he has been taught that way. We should make sure that polio should be implemented into medical studies, right? When people start becoming doctors, when they start going into medicine, they should know about this. They should know about not just nutrition. They should know about polio. It doesn't matter if they say, oh, it's a dead illness. It doesn't come up. I've had one orthopedic doctor I went to. I found him very nice. I've had a lot of orthopedic doctors. There was one who accompanied me 30 years before he went into pension. And I was very sad about that because he was the only guy who understood me, because he knew me from my seventh age when I was 7 years old. And this other doctor, a young guy, after my third or fourth visit, he said to me, Viney, to be very honest, I don't know why you're here coming to me. Because I said, what? What are you talking about? Yeah, because only prescription I can give you of your shoes, but I really can't help you. Because I have no clue of polio or post-polio or late effects of polio. I have no idea. I have 2-3 patients, maybe I know they are having that too, but I still have no clue. I say, you're kidding me, because you're not having any clue. Why not go and educate yourself about it and find out so you get a clue? And I didn't get an answer to that. So after that, I said, I thank you for your honesty, and it shows me what needs to be done. And when I feel I'm ready, I will go out there and raise the voice about that. And that was a couple of years back. And I was, but left inside, I was left speechless. I was thankful for his honesty, but I knew now I have to go search for a new doctor. It's crazy. And still, I have, and the doctor then I found passed away with a heart attack. What to do? It's crazy.
Thank you. Could John, you have a question, or are your hands up?
Yeah, I've got, Vinny, I've got a question, but a couple of comments as well. Yes. Actually, back in about 9 years ago, we did a survey right way across Europe through the European Polio Union, looking at medical schools, and it came out, and this bears it out for you, it came out that inside of the training of doctors, on average across Europe, they get 7 minutes on polio and PPS. That's number one. Number two, wow. And I don't know whether Bundesverband does this or not, but certainly Denmark, Finland, and some of the other countries do it. There's a lot of people who actually, they get depressed because of getting PPS, don't know where it's going. And what some of the support groups are doing is they're actually offering counseling sessions on the basis of they've hit this brick wall, they've fought one battle, they're now going on to another one and think they're losing the war. And according to some of the people, and this is your field, some of the people, they actually are making it akin to almost bereavement, and actually getting counseling for that. And the last point is I've been going around for the last 30 odd years with in polio groups all over the world. The thing that I've found, which helps a lot of the people, is for them to look forward, not keep looking over their shoulder. There's too many people they're still being bitter because they got polio. I'm old enough, they didn't even have the vaccine around when I got it. But they're looking backwards. They're not looking forwards. They're not grasping the future. There is so much that people can still do, even if they're in a wheelchair. It's only I actually got asked a question, and it got used as a headline at one stage. And he said, "Is there anything you can do? What is the situation for polio people? You know, is there any situation you can't help them in?" I said, "Only when they're in a wooden box."
Yes. I totally agree. I mean, we just resonate on that, John. Absolutely. And I think this depression, when this comes up, that post-polio, besides what I said, that it's induced from the outside, of course, post-polio changes also your chemistry, your immune system. It pulls you down. And that's where you have to understand. The first thing is, how can I support my system, right? The first time I met a post-polio patient suffering from post-polio syndrome was a woman in her mid-30s or beginning 30s. I was on a visit in Canada, and I wasn't really understanding what issues she's having. She was having a chronic fatigue syndrome. She was having migraines, everything which was at that time very far from me, right? But she taught me a lot. And she taught me that what she said, "Listen, Viney, you're seeing my condition. I wasn't always that way. And this has come just the last 5 years when I was 31. And it's tough for me to get through the day, but I'm just doing the best way I can. And do everything you can to take care about yourself." And that's when I started digging into nutrition, into, of course, my dad, he was as a vet and as a doctor, he was a lot into Ayurveda and all that, and yoga. So I got a lot of that. I'm very grateful. He passed a lot of knowledge on to me and my brother. And I understood, start digging about what you should eat to keep your immune system up. Because if you keep your immune system up, there are certain polyphenols, antioxidants, as a whole from a fruit, which give you a good mood. Berries, for instance, eat berries. They're the best natural antidepressants you can take, basically, right? And once you understand what your body needs to support your physically, your cells, your nerve cells, your brain cells are also nerve cells. Your brain is basically a muscle, right? And you can train that muscle. And that's where you have to understand. And I think also, yes, look always forward. That's absolutely resonating with you. Message, look forward. And here again, it shows what we need to do. If doctors in their training get only 7 minutes about post-polio, then there's something wrong with the whole medical system, because then they will handle everything else the same way. So what do doctors learn, basically? Being pharmaceuticals, right? That's not enough. How to vaccinate? Great. That's not, a nurse can do that. That's not enough. That's not simply enough. So we have to hit the universities. We have to, I'm really serious on that. We have to get into them and tell them, hey, you're not doing enough. If we rely on you, where's it going to if we get answers like that? Right? And counseling is always good. If you feel, that's why I'm saying peer groups should be managed too, for supporting each other, encouraging each other. If you have these negative thoughts, if you're feeling depressed, then always get someone to talk to who's gone through that and who's out of that. And that's so important, right? Basically, what I'm apt to do is to set up counseling, donation-based counseling on my website. It's not there yet because I want to support that too. I want to encourage you, speak about it, talk about it. And the more you talk about it, the more relief you get. The more relief you get, the more you can look forward, because you feel suddenly you're not alone out there.
Viney, I want to get to Dick in a minute, but that brings another thought that I'll just throw it out, not necessary for a conversation, but we're talking about medical doctors not knowing much about PPS. The psychological doctors will probably have no clue about it. And once again, they're going to say, oh, you got depression, but not necessarily treating how to overcome the depression. So I would imagine it's the same kind of counseling that somebody who has any kind of chronic disease, people go through the same thing. But I want to turn to Dick, because Dick has his hand up.
I just want to say thank you to all 46 of us that are here on this program this morning. We are the choir. We are the future ambassadors around the world, because as I look at this screen, I see the entire world being covered like a spider web, as it were. And we will get the word of awareness out one way or another. So Viney, I really appreciate what you've been saying.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dick. And a couple of things that have been said here. Go ahead, Maureen, you have a hand up.
I had,
What I was going to say, I was trying to reach out to some of the, the key people here that I think are key. I don't know everybody here, but I forgot her name. She told me that there is going to be a polio awareness convention, or whatever you want to call it, in December. Jane in here. And are you all aware of that? That there is a polio awareness event at Touro University in California? Nobody knows? Okay. Well,
great. I'm glad we know that. We can announce it to everybody, put in the newsletter, Maureen.
oh, there it is.
Here, I'll put it in the chat. I'll copy and paste it.
Okay, sounds good. And so I thank you, Viney, on all this. It was important, I think, to talk about the psychological challenges that comes with post-polio syndrome. And I think there been some good comments. John made a good comment. We need to look forward on this. And that's what this group is. Now is the time to do some advocacy. Probably 10 years ago was the time to do some advocacy, but now is the time to do some advocacy. So, and once again, we're an advocacy group. Well, our goal is to get the word out about post-polio syndrome to all these people, even the people with polio who don't even understand it. And to do it in a positive way, because yes, this is the choir that we have here, but this choir is going to be the most important advocates we possibly could have to spread this word. And we can do it in a very powerful way, one person even at a time, but also as a group. And to talk about post-polio syndrome to those people that need to hear about it is important for us to do that. I was in a group, I think it was in the Canadian March of Dimes group, and the doctor there made a good comment. Or the group there made a good comment, and there's a struggle here on how to educate doctors on this, and they don't even want to hear it. There's people in that group that said they sent out invitations to do a webinar on it, and out of, I don't know what the number was, 7,000 invitations, at the end of about 10 people showed up. So there's a challenge there to get the doctors to hear about it. But as an advocacy group, we one by one can go to our doctors and talk about it as a grassroots group to do that. So that's what an advocacy can do, is to get the word out with that doctor right in front of you about the fact what you're going through and what it is, and try to get them more educated on it. We're going to try to help you do that. That as an advocacy group, we're once again not a support group. We're we can be a support group of the support groups. In other words, if we'll work, we'd love to work with all the support groups, and we appreciate anybody, and Maureen and was it Jane, bringing up the information on this upcoming webinar. We need to educate ourselves, and we need to know where all the support groups are. So when somebody comes to us and say, or from Mexico and says, you know, I don't know where I can go in Mexico, we can help direct the people to that group, to once again and continue to educate ourselves, because we're all, like I said, in this room, we're all the advocates, and we're going to work on trying to help support you on being advocates by giving you guidance and giving you materials and things like that to provide you with it, so that you can go out and work in your community. It may be also you want to go speak to somebody in your community, like a Rotary group, which is perfect group to talk to. We'll support you on that. We'll help you. If you need some sort of a presentation to do that, we'll help you do that. We'll provide you with the information on you know, what, you know, put it together for you so that you can present it in a way that you think was best to get the right message out. So as an advocacy group, that's how we're going to work with everybody to try to do that. And there's no better right now people to talk to than the choir on this. I don't know, I know if you have some thoughts on all this.
Well, every time I go to a polio chat group, whether it's on Facebook or wherever I find them, there is such despair in the comment, like, how do I find a doctor? How do I find help? And you can feel it in the wording that they don't have any support anywhere, and they're really, really lost. Of the 18 comments in one, the 18 responses to one comment, there was 2 people who said, I used to have a polio doc and he retired, or he died, or she died. And then here is the 1 out of 18. I'm blessed with a PPS doc just 15 minutes away. 2 days a month are set aside for PPS patients. And he's in Southeast Michigan. That is the only time I have ever seen anybody respond saying that they have a doctor and they know they can go there. Sadly, I see this person is just taking a lot of meds to be pain-free. So I don't know what other responses the doctor is giving. But here, there is a doctor for this person who's sharing it now with other people. I think we will find thousands of people to be part of our advocacy if we can disseminate the information on where people can find medical help, and then hopefully we can talk to them about psychological help as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why Viney was good to have him here, because I know they've talked a lot about the physical parts. Well, it's not the right word. The physical parts of having post-polio syndrome, but also tackle the mental part of it, because everybody goes through it. And for an advocate to get in the right state of mind, we have to think positive about ourselves. And think positive that, yes, me, one person sitting here right now, in my case, Colombia, can make a difference in the world, and the difference of other people's lives who have post-polio syndrome, who are sitting someplace and what needs somebody to help them support it. And each person in this room can do that. Maureen, you have your hand up.
Yes, and another thing, you know, we all, you know, are all of that type A personality, and we want to stay independent. And, you know, we want to stay in our homes as well. But, you know, a lot of us are on fixed incomes, and, you know, we need to modify our homes so we can stay, so that now we need wider doors. So our now, you know, with people now using wheelchairs to be able to get into the bathroom, get out the front door, they would need a ramp. They might even need to have a ramp van, which is a little condo on wheels, the price of them. And, you know, these are items that Medicare or, you know, health insurance doesn't cover. So where do these people get the money from to stay independent, so they are in the community as you know, and still being vibrant contributors to society? I mean, you know, thank God. I mean, this doesn't affect our brain. We have so much to offer. But if we can't get out of our house or we can't get into the bathroom, you know, just simple everyday things. And the other with the ADA law here in the States, 32 years, and we still can't get into some establishments. What's going on? Unless you throw a lawsuit in their face, and it shouldn't have to be that way. You know, everybody is just a banana peel away from being just like us.
That's a good one.
And you know, Maureen, too, though, and we're going to get into that at some point, but there are laws. There are laws in many countries that supports accessibility. And oftentimes in many countries, those laws are not being implemented. And that's where advocates, once again, can work on that. And we can work on that as a topic too, the laws and getting change for accessibility for people who are in wheelchairs and things like that. So.
I mean, are there funds can somebody come to the Rotary if somebody needs a ventilator to breathe, you know, if they don't have insurance or whatever? Is that something that somebody can reach out to a Rotary for, or however you would do that, make a presentation or what?
As an advocacy group, we can sit down as a group and talk about it. Okay, you have come across a problem somewhere where there is not accessibility for a particular for people in wheelchairs, for example. Let's get together and have a discussion on that, and then come up with a battle plan, an action plan to make change for that. That's what advocates do. Wes, you have your hand up. You have your hand up, Wes.
Yes, I did have my hand up. Ken, you mentioned earlier that maybe there'd be some materials that we could share at a meeting. I've already been invited to a couple of Rotary meetings here in Winnipeg because of the article that they saw on CBC. And I would certainly like some help with some presentation materials, because their meeting is going to be on Zoom, and I'm not the greatest at producing that kind of stuff. I know there's slides that different people have, and if there was a way to get a hold of this. Another focus of mine is on accessibility. I'm in contact with people at the city. They've been so open to improving accessibility, even though they recognize the fact that they haven't done a great job, even though they've tried. I've seen some excellent things with swimming pools and change rooms and washrooms in the last week. And I would like to be able to share some stuff on accessibility as well, because as Maureen said, we're not the only ones, but we have a big group here, and we have people that are knowledgeable and have accessibility issues. But as Maureen said, so many people are a banana peel away from being in our group. I now have to use a wheelchair all the time when I'm out, even though previously I only used it at home. But I don't have money for a van, so I had to buy another wheelchair that folds up and power and goes in the trunk of my car. So money's an issue, accessibility's an issue. And I would like the stuff that we can put together for post-polio to also bring together other people that have accessibility issues. This will open up people that want to hear from us, and hey, talking about accessibility, I can bring post-polio and what's created my accessibility issues, and that's going to expand our reach that we might not get if we're just post-polio advocates. But it's so important. I had a doctor that I met when I was 15. His mom had polio, and he supported me until he retired about 4 years ago. Since then, nothing. So that's, if we can get some help with some presentation materials, just a couple of slides. I don't need a half-hour presentation, just a couple of things.
12:20 a.m.
Would be awesome.
Ice cream was broken into.
Can somebody help Wes on that? Is there other materials? I don't know, John. Mona or Carol or whoever else in this room.
don't have any.
John from United Kingdom. I mean, are there materials already existent? We have not produced any yet, but we certainly will at some point, or at least support some that are out there. But if somebody in this group knows of some material already.
There is,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, John. UK.
there is some material out there, and I can send it through. The only thing I need, Wes, is your email address.
Okay, good.
Yeah, John, I'll send that over to you. I was very impressed with your post-polio pamphlet, and some of these things have information. I know PHI has a number of stuff. Even if we could find some way to bring this stuff together to you know, make an addition to presentation. They want to hear my story and other stories, and I want to broaden it a little bit, so I'll get access to more groups. And take it outside, you know.
And John, UK John, can Janet made a comment, if you can share it with me, I'll put it in the newsletter so everybody will have access to it at this point. One thing we need to make sure of when time goes on, that as a group, as this kind of group, that we can supply information, because it's important that you're getting the accurate information, not inaccurate information. Janie, you have your hand up, but Janie had just sent me some information from a website or something, Janie, where their information on there was inaccurate. So that's important, because it's probably a lot of inaccurate information out there right now. Janie?
Yes, thanks, Ken. Yes, those sites that I sent were deliberate misinformation, I think. So that's a different question to contemplate. Horrific, but necessary. I was just going to offer for Wes that if John and Ireland can maybe send me that pamphlet, I could put it into a slideshow for you if that's what you need. And do you have access to, for example, PowerPoint or anything else? Otherwise, I can just.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it Janie or Janie?
Janie. Janie, yes.
Thanks. I am familiar with PowerPoint, but I'm not, you know, great at producing that kind of thing. And just a couple of slides, I think a lot of people could use, and it would be so helpful.
Sure. Well, so I'll make that a priority for you. Does Ken have your email address?
Yes, yeah. I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then I'll connect with you on email.
Thank you.
There we go.
Pleasure.
There you go. What a perfect example of how we can work together as a group to try to get this word out as a group of advocates to do this. So I don't know, Michael, did you disappear? He had his hand up at one point. Michael, you still here? Michael from Uganda? Maybe not here.
He's here.
Oh, he's here. Michael, did you have something you wanted to say? Maybe he has bad connection. Yeah. And Mona, did you have your hand up at some point? Okay. So I thank you, Viney, for this presentation, and I trust you put your blog in the chat. We certainly will put it in the newsletter when we send it out. Which reminds me, if anybody's in this group that is not on our mailing list, please put your and you want to be, please put your information in the chat, and I will add you to the next one. I think I know probably we need some brainstorming on this, but it might be good just to have a session where everybody in this group starts talking about what needs to be done and share some ideas on how to do it, so we can start putting together some action plans. What do you think?
I agree. There's so much here to sort out and to give us our priorities. So the answer is yes. Can we do that again soon?
Yeah, I mean, we have another meeting scheduled. Somebody help me with the calendar. It's the fourth Thursday in the month of August we're in right now.
28th of July, 28th of August, Ken.
All right, so that will be
I
the
thought it
next
was a-
meeting.
I thought it was the 25th.
I don't know, it's a
I
Thursday.
also have 25th.
So do I have it wrong? Is it we're right now?
What day of the,
I can look
what
at
day of the week is the 25th?
It's a Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
So
so
that must-
I believe we're second and fourth Thursdays, aren't we?
Yeah.
the second, okay, yes, so that makes it
Yeah,
20.
so it's the 25th.
Okay, so the
25th.
25th. Let's plan that session, if you're okay with it, Ina.
Yeah, perfect. I mean,
To have an open session about brainstorming to identify what needs to be done and hear
Mhm.
everybody's ideas on how to do it. How's that sound?
right. Mm-hmm. Good.
Okay, then we'll do that. All right, if you haven't put your name in the chat, you can always send you, I'll put my name here, my
Mhm.
email here, so you can get it to me. The more people we get, the more stronger the advocacy is going to be.
Mhm.
So networking in this case is going to be critical to the success of what we're doing. And we're global, so we'd like to work on areas all around the world. I mean, and I've said this before, and that is, it's hard to type and talk at the same time. Hopefully I did it. No, I didn't. I'm sorry, I just sent to one person. Let me not talk at the same time. So it's kennethmason@gmail.com. So the thing is, what we need to do is, like I said, build a plan. We're going to build some committees also to work on different areas. And for example, marketing, because marketing is going to be an important part of this whole system. And so we're going to have different people who'd like to do a business plan at some point too. So anybody who has some expertise in that. We're not at the stage we need to do anything about fundraising, because we now have nothing to do, nothing that needs funding at this point, but that may happen sometime in the future. But the other thing we have to think about too, as we do all this, is we're talking about basically two different worlds. We have a world of the countries that eradicated polio many years ago. And in that case, the people that have post-polio syndrome often are older people. And so there's a need there to educate the medical profession, stuff like that, in areas in that case. But then we also have areas, such as Africa and Asia, where polio is still not 100% eradicated there. And there's still people that are younger people that are having polio, but they really, not only there's a lack of education there on polio, but there's a lack of, certainly, of education of post-polio syndrome. So the time in those areas to start educating the medical profession and the people who have polio there is now. So they know that this is something that certainly may come into their life in the future, and what they can do about it now to impact their future with post-polio syndrome. Even on Viney, on the medical, what they may be psychologically going to be going through. All of a sudden, and everybody, most people in this room have gone through that I'm feeling a lot better now. All of a sudden, things start to deteriorate. So, and how to deal with that. Carol, you have your hand up.
Ken, you were quick there. I really appreciated Viney's conversation about the non-paralytic survivor, the inapparent survivor. The head of the department in New York has actually brought attention to the fact that there's far more cases than they're able to identify right now because of inapparent or very mild flu-like symptoms. And I think one of the things I'd love to keep in mind, and this is personal, but post-polio syndrome really came into my life in my early 30s. It's not just limited to old people. So the inapparent, the apparent, the paralyzed, the non-paralyzed, our goal in this, and Viney, I really appreciated your talk, is to stay open and is to stay listening. And Janie brought forth a website that's got bad information. There's a lot of that out there. I do this all day, every day. There's a lot of bad stuff out there. And I appreciate the opportunity to have a group that's coming together that's going to look at all of us, whether we're in the US, the UK, South Africa, India, it doesn't matter. We share something incredible, which is this lousy disease.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of having an organization without borders. We care about the people who have polio, even the people that may future have polio, and that's our focus. Our focus is on helping, caring, being advocates for them, rather than think about what country do I come from. We're a world of people working on a world problem. So that's our goal. Any other comments? All right, so we concluded that it's the 25th of August is the next meeting. That will be an open session. And we're going to ask for your help on trying to come up with brainstorm. It's going to brainstorming session on what is the needs as advocates that we need to do? Who do we need to get the awareness out to? And thoughts on how we can do that. Okay. Does that sound good, Ina?
Perfect for me.
Okay. And you never showed us your mannequin. No.
Oh, I have to see if I can get rid of my blurred back. It's really something. Let me see if I can. Oh, I don't know. I don't think I can do that because I have a blurred background. I'll take a picture of it. You'll all not believe it.
And one other thought, thank you, Ina, and we put it in the newsletter. We'll put it in the newsletter. How's that? One other thought that I have, because we're not all technical savvy, as Ina's trying to get rid of her blurred background. And we have people that are somewhat technical savvy in this group. So if you needed some sort of technical guidance, even we're trying to get some people that are not on WhatsApp to use that app because it's a great communication tool to get you on that. We have people in this room that will help you do that. So if you need that, we'll give you some guidance on that too. How to do a PowerPoint, things like that. We're here to do that also. We want to do anything we can possibly do to increase the awareness of PPS. Great. Thank you all. I appreciate all you being here. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Michael's hand up.
Oh, Michael, you have some words. Maybe still having trouble with his connection.
Hello.
Hey, Michael.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning to some of us, Michael.
I'm okay. It is night this side. It's coming to evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I see people are signing off. That's why I wanted to say something about Uganda.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You're on.
Yeah, so I'm happy to join the discussion about polio eradication. So otherwise, I'm Michael from Eastern Uganda. I'm a Rotarian from Soroti City. But also I run an organization called the SAF TESO, that is Shine Africa Foundation, TESO. It's a human rights advocacy organization, and basically we do public health programs. HIV, malaria, TB, polio. I posted on our wall the challenges that we go through in polio eradication. One among them is the low levels of awareness that goes around in the communities, especially in the rural communities where people have very little information. And then the other challenge I said is the low uptake of antenatal care services by the women, especially pregnant mothers. And this affects them. Then the presence of the traditional birth attendants, which I shared with Ken, it greatly contributes to a high number of polio cases. But above all, what I wanted to share with you is the industrial actions, especially strikes, the medical workers in Uganda so often have, which affects service delivery. I know you've been following events. Are you listening to me?
Yes, Michael, we got you. We have you.
Yeah, the industrial action, always Uganda suffers a lot. The medical people always lay their tools because of poor remuneration. It affects even teachers, the civil servants, particularly medical people. And during that time of the industrial action, always takes longer time, a month, 2 months. Very many people die, of course, especially like children, the pregnant mothers. So that is one other area which affects. Then also we have the attitude, poor attitude and mindset change. Like the men always don't believe that they should support their women, the pregnant mothers, to go for antenatals. And the issues of domestic violence coupled with poverty, those all contribute to a chain which affects generally the medical services, especially in the children. Of course, I come from a sub-region again where people have suffered wars, the issues of displacement, people in IDP camps. Those are some of the regions I've come, and then high levels of illiteracy, especially like Karamoja and any bit of Teso, where people don't believe in going to the hospitals, but they go for traditional services. So those are some of the challenges, but what we do as an organization, my organization is Human Rights Advocacy. So we do awareness raising in the media. We do media dialogues, publicity. We do trainings like Viney presented it. We do advocacy. And then we integrate our programs like malaria, TB. We integrate the issues of awareness, polio, COVID-19. We bring all those other issues. But all in all, I wanted to submit that we need to work together because it is a big problem, and see how maybe some of you from that end who are privileged can partner with us and work with us to support us, because it is a big area. So that's what the little that I wanted to contribute. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Michael. And you and I are going to have more conversations about that. We want to particularly focus, well, as the club will focus on disability that you're dealing with, but we as a group will focus on the challenges you face with polio, people with polio there. And maybe you and I can talk about writing an article for the newsletter about that particular challenges in Uganda that you're dealing with. So we can do that in the near future, Michael. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate what you're doing for the people there. So, all right. So thank you all again, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks, hopefully. Okay.